When it comes to a carry gun, there's a lot of people that carry revolvers. I'm one of them. I don't always carry a revolver, but I often carry a revolver. And most people's hang up with a revolver is capacity, and I get that. But I have kind of a thought before we get into how many bullets does a revolver hold, because, you know, the revolver, it depends, and there's a lot of variables there. You can have a decent capacity on a revolver, surprisingly, and you can get quick reloads too if you train enough. But before we get into that, let's talk about the revolver itself, because the problem with people neglecting a revolver is if I was a soldier or a police officer and was regularly putting myself out there for firefights, I would definitely want something with 17 plus capacity at the very least. I would only really carry a revolver for backup, but I go out in the world with firearm all the time, and so far I've never had to use mine for self-defense. So I guess what I'm saying is, for the average person who's just going out there, 6 shots is probably plenty. Now, that is going to be your average capacity of a revolver. It's going to be 6 rounds. It's very typical, normal. Most revolvers are going to be 6. However, here's where you got to be cautious. Whenever you get into more of a concealed carry size, you know, something like the Ruger LCR, Smith & Wesson Model 60, the Lady Smith, things like that, you're really looking at 5. That 5 rounds takes the size of that cylinder down significantly, and the cylinder is the widest piece of the whole thing, of the whole gun. Now, the Kimber K6, it actually is a 6 round, and it's the smallest 6 round 357 Magnum revolver on the market. So they've actually kind of wedged in the cylinder, kind of flatten the sides of the cylinder, so to say, to shrink it down a bit. Now, it's not just capacity as far as how many bullets does it hold. It also has to do with the caliber as well. So your average revolver is going to be a 357 or a 38 special. 38 special revolver has been around for a long time, and they were very typical. You had 45 long Colt before that. You had 38 special. You had black powder, but those were all 6 shots and pretty large size projectiles, so to say. But now what you're seeing is some 38 specials with 8 shots, or 357 Magnums as well with 8 shots. This is becoming more normal. Now, of course, this can be a much larger revolver, but if you change the caliber to something like, for example, a 22, now you're going to be able to fit like 10 rounds in there at times. 22 Magnum, some of the smallest revolvers in the world, the North American Arms 22 Magnum, dinky little thing, holds 5 shots, but then there's some larger revolvers, hold 10. But your average 22 caliber revolver is going to be 8 to 10 rounds, whereas your average 357 is going to be 5 or 6 rounds. 8 in some scenarios. Now you get into something like a 44 Magnum, now you're really getting into more of a pretty big gun, first of all, to be able to handle that caliber, even if it's just a single shot. And it has so much more firepower. You need more steel to protect it as well from just shredding apart, even if it was just a single shot. So, but that's kind of what you're going to average. You know, your carry size, 357 Magnums or 38 Specials, you're going to look at 5 rounds. For the small concealed carry. You go from there, most of them are going to be 6 shots. Most revolvers out there are going to be 357 or 38 special, 6 rounds. And then once you get into, you know, kind of your rim fire, you're going to get into 8 to 10 rounds. Now, I also want to kind of add at this moment is that if you're going to get a 38 special, I usually will recommend you get a 357 Magnum because it takes both rounds. So just know that as well. You could put 38 specials in a 357, but you cannot put 357 in a 38 special. So how many bullets does a revolver hold? Well, most concealed carry size revolvers in 38 Special 357 are going to be 5 rounds. Go from there, 6 rounds. Kimber makes a great carry size 357 in 6 rounds. Smallest 357 Magnum out there in 6 rounds. Some will hold 8. They make some big old revolvers out there, but they're going to be big old revolvers. Most 44 Magnums, getting larger bullets, are going to be 6 rounds, but big old revolvers. You get back into the small things, you can get dinky little 22 Magnum revolvers, 5 shots, fit in your pocket like the size of your car keys. Now you're getting much smaller. But if you get into a carry size, your typical concealed carry size, kind of like the 5-shot 38 Specialist, now you're in 8 to 10 rounds. So there you go. Hope this helps. I always feel that a revolver is a good carry option. I really do. I highly recommend you train with the reloads. If you look at Jerry Mitchellek, that guy can reload 8 rounds faster than most people can reload a magazine. So it's impressive and it can be done. Just takes practice, but is 6 shots of 357 Magnum a good defensive round? Yeah, it's pretty good. Any thoughts or insight on any of this, definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people watch, they're not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests, so please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.